Exercising during pregnancy, difficult conversation, difficult thing to talk about, difficult way to recommend things to people because it's a touchy subject. And the research is antiquated. Most research has never really been done on pregnant women. Why? Because you don't typically experiment on pregnant women. So the data is very difficult to come by and is only based on personal experience. And you can read and read and read and read, and you can just totally throw yourself for a loop. It's very confusing. And I know that you want to back up everything that you do with science, but what you need to back up everything with is you. I'm telling you that as your advisor and your coach. You know your body. If you're pregnant, you feel and understand the baby's body, and you are your best advisor because only you can feel, see, hear what is going on internally. So everything that I'm going to share with you today, I want you to take just as words of caution and advice. But the bottom line is that you are an advocate for yourself and your baby, and you need to do what's best for you. So there are definitely two polar opposites when it comes to pregnancy and exercise. And what I would prefer would be to be able to see some kind of a middle ground. I mean, that's kind of a weird way to say it, but I don't understand why today in our exercise philosophies that we feel like we need to either be doing nothing or to be like elite athlete when it comes to fitness. Isn't there fitness for regular people? That's why I teach the way that I teach, and that's why I teach PIO, and that's why I have the flat belly system, and that's why I instruct the way that I do, because I just don't think that we need to be opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't think that really crazy elite athletic performance is for everyone, pregnant or not pregnant. And I never think that sitting on your butt is okay. Unless your doctor puts you to bed rest, and in that case, I'm sorry. I know that sucks. I can't even imagine doing bed rest for a day. I mean, some women I know were on bed rest for months. How awful is that? I am sorry if that's you, and it's probably driving you nuts where you're like, once I'm released to exercise, that's another dangerous topic for another day. We get too excited to jump off too soon, too heavy and too hard, and we get hurt. Okay, so what does middle of the ground mean? Well, it used to mean, and some doctors still say this, 140 beats per minute is where the maximum is for all pregnant women. Now, I don't know about you and how much you know about heart rate and blood pressure, but how does that make sense? Because my 140 is completely different from Nancy down the street's 140. It just doesn't make any sense. Here's what I would say, cardiovascularly wise, women that are pregnant. Your blood vessels are dilating to allow more blood to get to baby. So you need to be able to work to the point where you feel like you're doing something, but you should never feel breathless in exercise, because you're stealing blood from the baby, and that's dangerous for the baby. Now, I say never. That's in my opinion. Like I said, everything that I say today is my opinion. Don't write me letters. So being breathless steals oxygen from the blood, even if it's for a little while. That's just a concern. So that is passing what's called the anaerobic threshold. I just don't think that pregnancy is the time to do that. I do think it's time to have your heart and lungs be healthy. So definitely doing something that brings your heart rate up to an aerobic state, not past the point of being overly winded, is perfectly acceptable. You know, some doctors teach you not to do anything that has impact. Some doctors say, you know, some impact is okay. Again, that's your body, and you know whether or not impact is hurting or feeling good. So do that. Okay. If you're feeling terrible pressure on your lower abdomen and your pelvic area every time that you do anything that has impact in it, you know, maybe back off of that. This is the time that you need to just really care about being healthy, not going crazy. You know, and my philosophy during pregnancy is that you need to do the best that you can to have a healthy baby. And you need to keep yourself healthy, not necessarily be working on world records at this time. You know, I've had friends that are elite athletes and they really want to push their limits when they're pregnant. And while that's really exciting to get lots of accolades to push your limits while you're pregnant, are the accolades worth it to you? Again, personal opinion. Is the status and the accolades worth the question in your head of later on, if something happens, am I going to blame myself for that? Now, you know I'm an advocate of fitness. I'm just saying, all the way to the extreme, now might not be the time. Let's talk about weightlifting. I'm an advocate of weightlifting. I believe in resistance training. I believe that you need to stay strong while you're pregnant, which is why I have prenatal fitness videos, which is why I will be doing another one this week that will be uploaded to keep yourself strong while you're pregnant. It's very important for your body and then for your recovery postpartum and for taking care of your baby. Do not sit around and do nothing unless you're on bed rest. But keeping your muscles strong does not mean breaking Olympic records. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of changes going on in your body right now. Your gravity is shifting, your body is shifting, the hormones are shifting, your joints are super, super stretchy. Have you noticed that? Like you can put your leg up over your head probably. Joints are like super loosey-goosey, and that's due to relaxin. If you are lifting real heavy and you're doing things against those joints, there's a higher possibility of you losing balance and falling. There is a higher possibility, again, of you becoming unconscious, which is not safe. And there's a certain point when you're lifting something where your core, which, as you know, as you start to show, your core is starting to stretch out forward, right? And it's pushing your gravity forward, but at a certain point of lifting, it puts pressure on the core. Can we think about the life force that's inside there? Okay, so should we be pushing down on that life force if it's not the due date? Should we be pushing out with our organs if our abdominal walls are pushed all the way out? What I'm saying is that a lot of times the diastasis that happens is exacerbated by pushing against those core muscles. Whoosh, comes right apart. And the organs can then come right through that separation. So if you're lifting weights, just be able to lift. This is personal opinion and my advice. Be able to lift where you can keep everything in control. Not where you're pushing down or out with your core, not where you are jerking, using jerking movements to lift or hoist anything. Core, back problems, pushing down on the baby, not the time to do that. A couple other things real quick. Pushing things up over your head during pregnancy, many research journals and personal opinion, lifting weights above your head for an extended period of time. Again, your blood vessels are dilated, so it very well could cause you to become dizzy and possibly pass out. So If you're doing anything overhead, keep it relatively light. This is not the time to do pull-ups. Again, it's the diastasis and core problem. Doing pull-ups is going to push that core straight out there. But if you are lifting up overhead, that you are seated, okay, with your feet down, you're in control, and it's not too heavy to keep in control. And then finally, one more thing is that there's very large blood vessels in your legs. So at a certain point in your pregnancy, if you're doing leg work, like in the 3rd trimester, shift to seated leg work. It will really help you, because standing leg work with dilated blood vessels could make you feel really dizzy and ill. And I just don't think that now's the time that you need to add dizziness and illness to the repertoire. So exercise, have fun, exercise with your mental game on, connect the brain to the body, understand what's going on inside of you, be an advocate for your own body and your baby and your baby's body. And that's my general advice for exercise during pregnancy. Now, if you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine too. Please don't send me hate mail. If you want to ask me a question, you may. And I'm glad to answer your questions as a pre- and postnatal expert in fitness. I am not a doctor. Ask your doctor appropriate questions. Ask your fitness professional fitness appropriate questions. That's my disclaimer. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck with the pregnancy. Let me know about that sweet little bundle when he or she arrives.